celebrate and participate in first fruits. And those that are not familiar with that, it's the beginning of a new month. You know, the Jewish people, they just celebrated a lot of different things, and so they celebrated the beginning. It's called Rosh Chodesh, the head of the month, and it's called first fruits, and it really has become an important way for us to enter into the cycles of blessing, because every month there's blessings to meditate on during this season of time, no matter what comes on our path. Hello, Deanne. No matter what comes on our path, we are in a cycle of blessing. So we are always armed. I like this. Always armed with faith that shoots an arrow in the dark and hits the mark. That would be the theme of this month. We would say the theme of this month is that one of those arrows, one of those weapons is our faith, and that represents, those arrows represent the words of our mouth carrying incredible accuracy. That's what we're working toward. Just like these arrows are hitting the bullseye up there, carrying incredible accuracy. That's why we need to be careful of the words that we speak. They're accurate. And so we say during this month that the potential of the unseen is released with words. It's like somehow or another I always end up with Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens of the earth, and he said, let there be light. And when he said let, he spoke to every force that was preventing the light from being revealed. We need to learn to recognize every force that is preventing the light from being revealed. Let me just say this. In Genesis chapter 1, darkness had a destiny. It had it then and it has it now, and it is to be transformed into light. With what? With words. So obviously, apparently, in Genesis chapter 1, God was comfortable in the dark because of something, because he had a plan. He had a plan. God had a plan, and it was called light. He easily moves in the dark because of what he focuses on. He focused on the light, and that is what he created. That's his method of operation. That's where we need to go. That's his MO. He focuses on what he wants to create, and then he speaks. Listen, he didn't speak to stuff that he could see. We could get worn out speaking to stuff that we could see. He could see the darkness. He didn't even address the darkness. He addressed the light. He spoke to the thing that he wanted. Listen, we have made this so hard. He spoke to the thing that he wanted. That is light. He didn't address the darkness. He addressed the light. He didn't talk about the obvious thing that was like everywhere. But here's what's so wonderful. He knew that it was time to do something. He knew that it was time to initiate an eternal plan for the earth and the people that weren't even there yet. Now we're here now, though. And God wants us to co-create with him. as he is, so are we in this world. And one of the key characteristics, it's going to become your favorite month. It's going to become your favorite month, Deanne. As we move forward, as we say. One of the key characteristics of Kislev is the power of our words. And so let me tell you something about the intention of darkness. The intention of darkness is just to keep you there. The culture, darkness has a culture. And the culture of darkness creates an atmosphere of danger and says, don't move. And what's in there? And don't rock the boat. But here's what we know about God from Genesis. He moves easily in the darkness. And then he speaks. This Hebrew month, Kislev, has an emphasis on our words. This Hebrew year, this is why every time we go through a year of the Hebrew months, they're a little bit adjusted according to the Hebrew year. So now we have perfect alignment. This is 5782. The voice of truth coming, the voice of truth coming from the house of God or the house of God. So the Hebrew year has an emphasis on our voice. It has an emphasis on our words. So the prophetic revelation of this period of time right now, I already said it. Let me just sometimes we say we believe, but the fruit doesn't bear it up. And I'm not talking about blaming and looking at somebody. I'm talking about on the inside of us. The prophetic revelation of this period of time really could change everything. It did for God in the beginning. So here's our Kislev declarations for 5782. Say this after me. I govern what comes out of my mouth. I establish the will of God through what I say. I decree a thing and it's established. I stop the enemy with my words. Now I want you to lift your hands. I want you to shut your eyes, and I'm going to say something over you. I declare right now every word of frustration, whether you said it, whether it's in the atmosphere, whether you heard it, whether it's around you, I declare every word of frustration, blaming or judgment spoken to you will not come to pass. I say the will of God trumps the will of the enemy and darkness every time. And here's the most important one. I cancel the potential of words to bring diversion to the plan of God in your life. Put your hands together and thank God. Now, go ahead. Your mic's not on.
This is so, I love what you're saying.
Yeah.
I love what you're saying.
All right.
But remember, as we concluded last week, I think, I told you that I knew something that you didn't know. And it was from Genesis 1. And the word hover means vibration. So the idea that you can just say something out of your mouth, but not have the hovering of Holy Spirit on the inside of you, we have emphasized so much, Sandy, and it's true, and it's a right thing, are declarations. What are we declaring? But you can't be like Aunt Colleen. Love you. You can't be like Aunt Colleen and carry one vibration and speak of something that is not connected to that vibration. So it's not magic. It's not just what you say. It's out of the abundance of the heart. What is in our heart? That's the reason why Heshvan was a month to get to the root, and there's still time. Get it? Still time to get to the root. So when we know that God, through Holy Spirit, hovered, he vibrated, he vibrated, he vibrated, he meditated on what he wanted, he meditated on light, and then he said, light be. And guess what? Light beed. So if you are having some issues with your declarations, just do a little checkup on the inside of what's in your what's your heart full of. And listen, our heart does not have compartments in it. You can't have an evil, critical, contemptuous attitude over here and think that you can slip over here and make a declaration, and God says, whoops, what about that? This thing over here. So it's cleanup time by the grace of God.
Hey, love it. So true. So today, my assignment, yes, is, we've changed out the decorations, and you know that we do that every month. We decorate so that we can see and are better able to relate to what's being spoken. So it's like the illustrations in a book. You're reading, and then it's illustrated, and so many times what we see can stir up an emotion, and that's all good. So I'm just calling it the keys lift table. So we start over here, if you can see, and there's always a tribe that is associated with a month. And so this is the tribe of Benjamin, and Benjamin was the youngest son of Jacob. He had 12 sons, and so there was a prophetic word that Jacob gave all of his sons, and here was his prophetic word. And Deanne, I was just thinking of this. I may have to get tall for this. I was just thinking about this years ago when Deanne and I were traveling. There was I don't know where we were. It was in Kansas, and some woman came up to Deanne and I and said to Deanne, "I know what tribe you're from." Remember this? You're from the tribe of Judah. And, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and that's the tribe that Jesus came out of, and David came out of, and many great men came out of that tribe. You're from the tribe of Judah, and it was very exciting to think about that for Deanne. And then she looked over at me and said, "You're from the tribe of Benjamin." All I knew of Benjamin was that Benjamin was the youngest. He was a very small tribe, and they didn't get very much land. So, what compared to Judah, and then we have Benjamin, and so Jacob prophesied over all of his sons there in Genesis. I think it's about 49. And so here's what he said over Benjamin. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf in the morning, and he kills for food, but at night he divides up the spoil. And then Moses also blessed all of these tribes. And he says of Benjamin, I love this, and so I'm all about Benjamin. The beloved of the Lord shall dwell in safety. He's talking about Benjamin. The beloved of the Lord shall dwell in safety by him. He covers him all the day, and in between his shoulders is the rest of God. Now, we'll talk about that in just a minute. So there were a lot of famous people from that tribe of Benjamin. There was King Saul, and I'm going to talk about that next week. And then there was, his father was Kish. I talked a little bit about that last week. His father was Kish. He was a powerful man. He was a wealthy man, and that was Saul's father. And so Saul was from the tribe of Benjamin. And you know, Mordecai and Esther. And then check it out, the Apostle Paul in the New Testament was from the tribe of Benjamin. Many of the men in that tribe were excellent archers. So we have the bow and arrow down there in the front. And here's an amazing story about Benjamin. Benjamin could be awakened out of a dead sleep at night in the dark. He's led out. He's given a bow and an arrow, and he could hit the mark, hit the bullseye, half asleep in the dark. So therefore, on the table, lest you think that your arrows, your words won't hit the mark, there it is, right, half asleep on the and you know what? It sounds like Genesis chapter 1. In the dark, God hit the mark, didn't he? And he said, let there be light. And so a characteristic of Kislev, a characteristic of this month, that's why we've got lights everywhere, is light. And so we want to concentrate on Jesus. Deanne already said it. He's the light of the world. Now, that's just a huge statement. He's the light of the world. Jesus is in me, so I am a lighthouse. So we have a lighthouse. He's a lighthouse. I house him. I'm a lighthouse. We house the light of God, and so we can go back to hit the mark in the dark, half asleep. So I guess you would call it a characteristic of Kislev is our dreams. So I've got a dream there, and I'm talking about the dream that you have when you're asleep. It is a characteristic of Kislev, and it's interesting to me. We just went off of daylight savings time, so what that means is there's more dark. It ended this morning. There's just more dark time, and so we dream at night. So tell your neighbor, dream on. Dream on. Dream the dreams of God. And for a Jewish person who reads the portion of the Torah during the month of Kislev, there are 9 or 10 of the dreams that are mentioned in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. There are 10 of those dreams in there, and those dreams can carry instruction, they can carry direction, they can carry warning, they can carry destiny. So we just need to say that these dreams are very, very important. You might want to make note of your dreams during this season of time. And then down below, right by the arrow and bow, is the crystal that's associated with Kislev, there's a crystal or a rock that's associated with every month, and it is a opal, and many times opals are multicolored, which represents a rainbow, so we left up the colors of the rainbow that we had for Heshbon, but we overlaid it with lights because Kislev is, a characteristic of Kislev is light. And I was telling Deanne this, I was just reading that story of Noah and the ark. That was all about Heshbon, and Deanne had the whiteboard up here with an ark for 4 weeks in a row, I think. And so after that great flood on Heshbon 27, 2 or 3, 4 days later, the rainbow is in the sky, and so really the rainbow shows up at the very first of Kislev. So that is why, and you see everything just works together and helps us to understand, even if it's the crystal, if it's lights, whatever it might be, we can learn about the blessings that overtake us during these months. And then on this right here is the constellation, and it's called Sagittarius. And it's just amazing to me that Sagittarius is called the archer. And when you look at it in the sky, it looks like an archer pulling back the bow and shooting an arrow. So that is some history of Kislev, but let's bring it into now. Let's bring it into our life right now. Arrows are symbolic of words, and they're symbolic for Kislev. They're symbolic of light, precision, accuracy, and direction. I want my words to be light. I want my words to be precise. I want my words to be accurate. I want my words to be directional. Get it? So here's what I meditated on and I wanted to bring today. We will shoot arrows, or we will shoot words of truth into the culture. And evil structures. And we will hit the mark in the dark of that culture and those evil structures. Anybody with me? I'm just saying we will shoot arrows. We will shoot words into that culture and into those evil structures. Another thing that is associated with Kislev for every month is the Hebrew letter, and it's on here too, and it's called Samek or Samek, and Samek means to trust. It's almost like a circle with a little thing out from it, if you can see it on here. Trust or support. It means a shield or protection. It also means a prop, like to prop up. Prop up somebody. Prop up a situation with your words. Let me just prop you up. You know, you love to hang out with somebody who just helps you, just walks alongside you. You know, you got a limp, but they're helping you. They're propping you up. You know, Di, what I'm talking about. So that's what this letter means in this month of Kislev. The shape is a circle. Listen to this. It represents the endless spiral of God's glory in all of the universe. That's what it represents for, because when you think of glory, you think of brightness, yellow or gold. I think God was getting us ready for this season of time that we're in right now. So it represents the endless. You know, a circle is endless. No beginning, no end. It's just endless. Represents the endless spiral of the glory of God in all the universe. And here's how the God's calendar, and I liked how this one lady who does chalkboard drawings of these months, here's what she said about that. She says that it reveals the seasons or the months of God's calendar, God's prophetic calendar. And so those months from the Hebrew calendar brought me to the turtle. So here's what got me on the trail. Never thought about this, never had a turtle mentioned anywhere. And except in I didn't write this down. It's like in Jeremiah. It's like in one of those kind of obscure books that you don't read. But it says, the turtle has a voice. All right. Yep, right in the Bible. Well, King James, so I don't know if it's going to be in the Mirror Bible or not, but it's in the King James. But anyway, but that's not what got me to the turtle. Here's what got me to the turtle. And I didn't realize this until, a 3 days ago, that the month of November is the Native American Heritage Month. The Native American Heritage Month. And so I kind of thought about that, and it made me think of Jay Swallow. And Jay would always tell Deanne and I how he loved turtle soup. And these Native Americans, somehow or another, they love these turtles. And many times that the Native Americans would give a gift. And they would give a gift like a turtle necklace or a turtle ring. And just this past week, I watched a conference that was called All Tribes, and they gave gifts of a turtle necklace and a turtle ring. And so in the Native American culture, a turtle represents this. This is why this turtle is here, because it totally coincides with the characteristics of Kislev. In the Native American culture, the turtle represents truth, health, long life, and prosperity, healing, wisdom, knowledge, and protection. So when I researched the turtle, I found that on the shell of a turtle, Deanne, are 13 squares. For the Native American tribes, they say it stands for the 13 full moons. That's how they marked time. They didn't mark it with the sun. They marked time with the full moons. And on the back of the turtle are these squares. And there's, on many of the turtles, not every turtle, many of the turtles, there's 13 squares representing 13 full moons, and that's how they marked time. So as I began to kind of think about that, and I'm not saying this is thus saith the Lord, but God's timing was on the turtle's back. The turtle carries God's timing and teaches us to walk our path in peace and rest. And that's a characteristic of Kislev. So then, here's where I went. I went to my nephews when they were growing up at the fall festival in this little town where we lived, they had a fall festival, and for all the kids, there was a turtle race. Oh, yeah. And so we had to find turtles for these little kids. They were like 4 and 5, years old. And so what they did, they took some chalk, and out in the middle of the main street, they made a big circle, and then all of the kids that had these turtles, they just dumped the turtles out in the middle of the circle, and the first one out was the winner. So these turtles, they are being yelled at. You can only imagine. You couldn't get in there and push them, but they were being yelled at. And these little kids were jumping up and down, and they were screaming and making noise and thinking that was going to cause their turtle to move. All of this activity and movement and banging was going to cause their turtle to win. I realized as I looked back on that experience that no matter, and this is the truth of the whole deal, no matter how much the turtles were being yelled at, no matter how much noise was going on, and those kids were screaming and they were pushing each other, and they were and no matter what was going on, these turtles walked their path in peace. Nothing moved them, literally. And if they decided to, if it just got to be too much, they went within. Get it? If it was just too much chatter, too much activity, too much going on, they just went within. Then in my study of turtles, I found out that a turtle has very few predators. And the reason, here's what it said in this thing I was looking at. They have very few predators because they have an innocent energy about them. Yeah. So they can just go within when they feel threatened. They can just go within when they feel vulnerable. And right now with everything going on, it's like you feel like your freedoms are being threatened, and this is being messed with, and that's being taken away. That's just in general, let alone what's going on in family situations or health situations. So when we feel threatened or when we feel vulnerable, we just go within. Because that turtle, here's what it said about that turtle. They have a protective sanctuary. The shell is home for them. So let's just think about these things. Lift your hand. Let's make a declaration. I walk in God's timing. I walk in God's peace. I walk in God's truth. I'm blessed with long life. I carry wisdom, knowledge, and protection. I go within when needed. I'm a turtle. And Deanne said, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, she said, we're like a mobile home. like we house the Lord, and so we carry him with us. And so it's kind of the same with the turtle. So then I remembered this. Did you ever see the cartoon, or it really is, Deanne, a Cherokee Indian folklore, the rabbit, the race between the rabbit and the turtle? So there's the rabbit, and he's all the time boasting. And you know, that kind of stuff is just going on out there in the airway, just boasting of this and boasting of that. And so that rabbit was all the time boasting to everybody that he was the fastest in the forest. So the turtle challenged him to a race. So they figured it out. They met and they start. And so the rabbit jumps off, and then there's the turtle. He's just walking his path in peace. That's characteristic of Keesler. Just walk your path in peace. And then when you speak, things will move. You know why? Because I read this somewhere in the King James Bible. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. And he's in us. So here they start their race, and the rabbit is going so fast, and he leaves the turtle way behind. And so he comes up on a tree or something. He says, you know what, I'm hot. I'm tired. I'm just going to take, now if you got ears to hear, you can hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying. So he says, you know what, I'm just going to take a nap. And even if the turtle would pass me, no problem. He said, I'll just hurry up, head toward the finish line, and I'll beat him. So the rabbit woke up. He looked ahead, he looked behind, he didn't see tell your neighbor, I came to church to hear about a cartoon. So he didn't see the turtle back behind him or ahead of him, so he headed for the finish line, and when he got to the finish line, he saw the turtle had already crossed the line, and he was announced the winner. So no matter what the odds are, the turtle just kept walking his path of peace. Now, in the English, peace conjures up passive and no external strife. Here's what it means in the Hebrew. It comes from a Hebrew word, S-I-M. Peace means to be complete. It's like it didn't matter. Win or lose, I'm walking my path of peace. I am complete. I am whole. I am sound. Peace out of the Hebrew means to live well. It means freedom. It means trust. It means security. It means a calm mind. Peace means health and prosperity and fulfillment and victory over the enemies. And what did Apostle Paul, the great Benjamite man in the New Testament, say about peace? In Romans chapter 16, he said, and may the God of peace, he will soon crush Satan under your feet.